Welcome to LaTour Retirement Talk. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I am excited to be here because today our hosts, they're both here, Jim Margraf and Josh LaTour. We are blessed with their presence and their knowledge today. Jim and Josh, great to see you. Thanks again for having me on the show. What's going on over there? I haven't talked to you both in a little bit, so what's happening?
Well, Tony, it's just the usual for us. Of course, we just celebrated 4th of July.
The big
So
250th.
we had so that's what part of the reason why it's been a little bit, because of course we normally record this show on Fridays, and of course Friday was a holiday. So, but yeah, we had a good time celebrating the 4th. The typical cookout and fireworks afterwards. Yeah, had a good time.
Good. Well, yeah, and I probably said this the last show, but 4th of July, it's my excuse to eat both a burger and a brat.
That's right.
And not have ananybody give you a second look. You can have both in one sitting. Nobody's going to say anything about it.
I did exactly that too, Tony.
So.
Yep, that's what I did. I grilled both on purpose. I'm having this burger and I'm having this brat.
There you
know, and the wife and kids are all like, "What should I have?" And I'm like, "It's the 4th of July. Let's
just take it all."
Yeah. And my wife, of course, wants half of it. I'll have half of the burger and half of a brat. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Once a year, let's celebrate. So how about you, Josh? What did you do?
Well, actually, it was our church. We had a big celebration. So I was actually there with Jim. We were both setting off a bunch of 5 and 7-inch mortars.
Right.
At your church? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of explosions. So if I say "what" a few times, just
everybody, let's see all 10 digits. You got them all. Everybody,
all here. They're all here.
Okay. Just
few powder burns, but apart from that, we're good.
Right.
Yeah. I love the smell of fresh gunpowder in the morning.
Right. Yeah. We actually had something funny happen a little bit when we were setting off the fireworks. We have a little barricade that we put up so nothing goes directly from us to where people are sitting. Right. That's a good thing. But we had a board on the back of it that we were launching the mortars from. And after we had launched, I know we had a pretty coordinated launch with, lighting a whole bunch of them all at once. And the board broke in half. And we come back from the side and it's just this big V shape going down there. And we're like, okay, so now if we light them off, some are going that way and some are going that way. We had to kind of makeshift repair things a little bit in the middle of it.
Did the force of them blasting break the board?
Yes, it did.
It was like a particle board shelf thing.
That was
we kind of
you didn't use a
together.
2x4.
No,
You didn't do 2x4 construction on that? Oh, guys, very
not on this. No,
very disappointed. Well, it's a good thing your financial plans are solid because it doesn't sound like you're used a particle board to launch fire mortars from.
Right. Well, it wasn't our setup, but we did. We were the ones that set it up.
Yeah, I'm just giving you a hard time, but it sounds like you had fun.
A guy named Tony that actually made the setup, so
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
Tony spelled backwards is why not. So he's got that going for him. So we're talking about beneficiary designations, and people are like, "Oh, I've heard that before." Beneficiaries. People don't realize how critical and serious it is, and so many people, including members of my own family and me, for a while, ignored. Like, "Oh yeah, I'll put my wife," or "Oh yeah, I put somebody down." Or I had one. Used to be you could actually say I'll fill that out later and put like I don't know, not available. Or I mean, now they make you. But I one of my first jobs, I know that I just said I haven't figured out, and they go, "That's okay." And I don't know how you did it without having a beneficiary designation in there. But for a while, I had a retirement account with no beneficiary designation.
Oh, that's not good.
No, that was terrible. And now I know that, of course. But this can be one of the costliest mistakes. And you see it a lot, don't you, with people coming in?
We do. See here, Tony, here's the one thing about those beneficiary forms that a lot of people don't realize is beneficiary forms supersede wills and trusts. And that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court. So if your beneficiary form and your trust or will disagree, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people go to an attorney and they get that trust all lined out, and they pay a lot of money for it. But that beneficiary form that you fill out when you open up that account, you fill it out, means there's no charge to fill that out. If you want your funds to go into that trust, you better put that trust, name on your beneficiary form. So that it goes through how you're wanting everything lined out. But there's a lot to inheriting funds and what we do and all the rules. There are so many rules, especially when it comes to IRAs. And that's some of the stuff that we want to cover today.
Sure.
To help people not make some of the mistakes that are out there that cost them so much on those funds.
And we're not just talking about, I was focused there on beneficiary designations, but we're really talking about beneficiaries and how you pass your money along, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That type of beneficiary 101. So how do we take care of our beneficiaries? What if we are a beneficiary?
Right.
The rules that go along with that and what we need to know, correct?
Exactly. So we're going to look at it from the lens as though you are the beneficiary. Now you're receiving funds.
Okay.
What type of funds are they, and how is that going to affect you?
Oh, this is good to know. Yeah.
So let's dive in a little bit.
Sure.
We're going to talk about IRAs to start out with, because that's probably the most complicated thing, especially now. It used to be a little bit simpler, and it used to honestly be a better tool to pass funds along. But because of some new acts, it's no longer the best way to pass funds along to the next generation. So what happens when you inherit an IRA? Well, it honestly depends on who the decedent was to you. If it was your spouse, there's some different rules. But if it wasn't your spouse and you're not one of the qualifying people that get some special rules, you end up with what we call the 10-year rule. Right. So you've got to take those funds out within a 10-year process after the decedent passed away. And so you basically have to take those funds out. IRS says you got to pay the taxes on these, and now they would become non-qualified funds and just a regular taxable account instead of a tax-deferred IRA. So you get a 10-year window. You don't have to take everything out all in 1 year, which is a great thing, because if you inherit a large IRA, that could really throw you off from a tax standpoint. But you get 10 years to parse that out.
So basically, I know what you alluded to, how inherited IRAs used to be more beneficial because there was something called the stretch IRA,
right?
Where you could defer and wouldn't have to be hit with that tax burden, at least not right away. But now they've changed that.
Right.
So in an inherited IRA, you have to watch out again about the tax implications, is what the concern is, isn't it?
Yeah, basically the Secure Act effectively killed the stretch IRA. Used to be you could use an IRA as a multi-generational tool, and it could pass from generation to generation, and they would stretch. It's called stretching. They take required minimum distributions based on their life expectancy out. So little bits at a time every year would have to come out, but that could continue for decades. And now we've got that 10-year rule. So IRS is saying we want ours now.
Yeah.
We want it quicker.
Yeah. You'll have to take it out within 10 years and pay taxes on the full amount within a 10-year period, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And there are exceptions, like you say, right? Yeah.
There are exceptions. So if it's not a spouse beneficiary, but you're within 10 years of the age of the one who passed, then that's one who is not subject to that 10-year requirement. And also someone who is either disabled or chronically ill.
Sure.
Also, minor children can stretch that out until they become the age of majority, and now they have a 10-year rule. Right. So if someone inherits funds and they're, let's say they're 12 years old, once they become the age of majority, now they have 10 years, and they have to take it all out. So for most states, and here in Missouri, it's the age of majority is 18. So by the time they're 28, those funds have to all come out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. That's important. There are so many little caveats and rules that, and not everybody's going to be able to understand or know all of these. And that's why it's great for you guys to let us know what some of these strategies and rules are all about. And that's why it's important to work with financial professionals like yourselves, right?
Absolutely, Tony. I mean, there's a lot of nuance that goes into what you should do with these inherited funds.
Right.
And based on who you are and your relationship to the decedent, it can add some complicated things into it.
Sure.
Now, the next person we want to talk about is a spouse inheriting IRAs.
Sure.
Because a spouse gets a lot of options, and it's a fantastic thing. As a spouse, you can actually make that IRA your own if you want to. So you don't end up having any required minimum distributions unless you're the age at which required minimum distributions have to come out of your own IRAs. Not only that, but let's say that you're a spouse that is under 59 and a half. And if you rolled these funds over to your own IRA and you wanted to access them for income, you'd have a 10% tax penalty.
Right.
Well, you can actually keep it as an inherited IRA, because inherited IRAs don't have a 10% tax penalty. So you could access those funds until you reach 59 and a half. And at that time, you could roll it into your own IRA. So it gives you some nice flexibility and some better options from a tax standpoint.
So, so the spouse is in a little better situation. They can basically just treat it as their own, whereas a non-spouse who inherits an IRA is subject to that 10-year rule.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and to the point that Josh was making, if you're under 59 and a half for that inherited IRA that you receive as a spouse, once you do get past age 59 and a half, you can make a change and then take it as your own. So there's the possibility to make that switch. If you don't need the funds to come out or whatever you want to do there, you have options. And so I really like the fact, as Josh said, that they built those options in for spouses, because you're dealing with the grief of the loss of a spouse and all that. You don't need the added financial pressure on top of it. And so having the flexibility there is a great thing.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is. So what's next? What other inherited IRA rules do we need to know about?
Okay, well, for those who are non-spouse, like I said before,
Sure.
you're going to be subject to that 10-year rule.
Yep.
Now, here's just a word of warning that I'll say. If you're inheriting an IRA and you want to move it from one custodian to another one, let's say you have your own financial advisor and you want to move it over there with them, don't do a 60-day rollover.
Oof,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You cannot do 60-day rollovers on inherited IRAs. It is immediately taxable because you can't put it back into the inherited IRA. If that money comes to your bank account, that's the end of it. And it is now taxable, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So you would end up then having to pay taxes on the full lump sum.
Correct. Yep.
Yikes.
And if it's a sizable amount, that can be pretty painful.
And could probably drive you up into a higher tax bracket too.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Yep. Yeah. So just heed that word of warning. Don't do a 60-day rollover with an inherited IRA. You can do a direct transfer and avoid the taxable event. And honestly, it's cleaner anyway, even for a regular IRA.
Right.
Less things can go wrong and less chance of making a really expensive mistake, a direct transfer.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And any qualified financial advisor should be able to tell you that. But just be careful.
Yeah. The risks that go up, it seems, when you do those kinds of transfers, those 60-day rollovers are just, to me, they're not worth it. Because, though I'll just a little rabbit trail here on those. If you do one, and maybe it's a small one, maybe you have $10,000 you're going to move over, you go, no big deal, right? I'll just do a 60-day rollover. And let's say then, 8, 9, 10 months later, wait, I've got another thing I'd like to roll over here. I'll do a 60-day rollover on, $500,000. Not so fast. That one is 100% taxable. So you only get to do one in 365 days.
Yeah.
Just don't bother. Just do a direct.
And it, like you mentioned, it's a rolling 365-day window. It's not
a year,
a calendar year.
Yeah. So you can't do more than one 60-day rollover in a 365-day period.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
From each other. It has to be more than 365 days apart, or more than a year apart between 60-day rollovers. What about quick question. What about a direct transfer? Can I do more than one a year without
as
paying
many
taxes?
as you need?
Yeah, there
Yep.
you go. Yeah.
Yep.
So why would anyone ever do a 60-day?
I don't know. There's a lot of problems with them. So there are cases where it's every now and then it is, because of who you're working with is better. But
one case where the custodian only allowed you to do 60-day rollovers. They didn't have a direct transfer option.
Oh, right.
I've heard
only,
that
only once ever that.
I heard once somebody I knew had a 401k and it was such a small, like under a certain amount,
Right.
the company or the custodian automatically cuts a check if it's under a certain amount.
Right.
But then, I mean, the taxes are going to be minimal and, whatever,
we're not worried about it.
If it's $600 or something, it's, that's not the same. If you have $50,000 or $100,000 or $700,000, those amounts, you'd better not do a 60-day rollover.
Right.
I lost the check, or I made a mistake. I didn't deposit in time, and now I owe taxes on $500,000 from a retirement account I inherited. That's not good. Or that I'm trying to do a 60-day rollover on. Yeah,
that would be a nightmare.
Good point. Yes. All right. So, what if I inherit a Roth IRA? I mean, everything you've been talking about are traditional IRAs or traditional accounts. What about Roth IRA inheritance?
Well, Tony, on the Roth IRAs, there's a really nice story here. One, there's no such thing as having to take those distributions over that 10-year period.
No RMDs.
No RMDs.
Nice.
Now, you still are subject to a 10-year rule, meaning on this one, because it's a Roth, by the end of the 10th year, you have to empty that Roth, but it's not taxable. Right? So you can just go ahead, leave it in there, get the tax-free growth that whole time, and then take it out at the end of the 10 years. And that's a huge benefit. There's a lot of the rules and the warnings are for the IRAs, but for the Roth, the benefit really is just leave it there if financially, if it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
And pull that out after the tax-free growth of another 10 years.
Yeah. And talk to your financial advisor about what to do with the money before the end of the 10 years. So you have a plan for that money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. You don't want to take it out and just throw it in the checking account and just leave it
No.
I wouldn't recommend that. Yeah, that's but yes, the Roth is a fantastic way to transfer assets to the next generation.
Tax-free inheritance.
Yep,
yes,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, tax-free inheritance, no RMD requirement. Those are the best features of the Roth there.
It is unfortunate that you only get to keep it for 10 years, but it's better than not. So
10 years of tax-free growth is great. Is there a way when you at the end of that 10 years you can't do a direct transfer into another Roth, though, can you?
No,
you cannot.
Yeah.
Because it was inherited, it cannot go into a Roth in your name.
Right.
So it has to come out of the tax qualified accounts entirely and goes into just a regular brokerage or investment account, and you pay taxes on the growth every year after that.
Sure.
So the idea is, if at all possible, and it can make sense for you, a great plan can be to leave it there for those 10 years and get that tax-free growth.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah. That's good. That's good. What else? And now we're getting into tax strategies, right? And that really does matter, doesn't it?
Well, you know what, Tony, when it comes to investing and taxes, taxes always matter, because if we can optimize and pay attention to what we're doing, it's we get to keep more of what we've made. Right.
Sure.
So it's not always about how much I make, but it's how much I get to keep. So if I can pay attention to the taxes and a good tax strategy on distributions and those investments, the more I can save on taxes, the better off I am.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's fantastic. So what's next?
Well, Tony, we talked about how basically with the 10-year rule, you have to take these funds out in that 10-year period.
Yep.
But what we didn't talk about is our RMDs, required minimum distributions, required during that 10 years? And the answer is maybe. So if the decedent was past what we call their required beginning date, when they had to begin taking their RMDs from their account, when they passed and they passed those funds on to you, you do have to continue taking out those RMDs every year during that 10-year period.
If they had started
Correct.
if they were 73 or older or taking required minimum distributions, and this is for regular retirement accounts, traditional accounts, like a traditional IRA.
That's right.
Right. Not the Roth, because the Roth, there are never RMDs required, right?
Exactly right. Yep. So with the traditional, and think of it like you turned on a faucet, and once that faucet's turned on, it can't be turned off.
Yeah.
So you have to continue taking those RMDs every single year, only from the traditional IRA, like you said. But that is an important factor. Now, for the first few years after the Secure Act came out end of 2019, effective beginning of 2020. It wasn't until 2025 that they actually made it a requirement for the RMDs to come out from those inherited IRAs. And reason being, because it was just such a new type of legislation. People weren't set up for it. Custodians weren't set up for it. And so they gave them some time. But now, as of 2025, now it is, now it's required.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it just, there's a lot to keep track of. I wouldn't want to do all this on my own. And this is why you guys have a job. These are the things you help your clients with, these types of strategies, right?
It is. And, you said this is why we have a job. Thank you to the IRS continuously changing the rules. We're going to stay employed for a very long time.
Yeah, but it means there's a lot for you guys to stay on top of. And I know you're great at it. And I let you guys do all the heavy lifting with that stuff, so I don't have to think about it every day. Each and every day. Better you than me, I always say.
Oh, thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
No, so with it, when it comes to the RMDs, just so most people know, by 73, you have to start taking RMDs on those IRAs. And as Josh was just saying, if the person that passed is taking them, then you have to keep going at least at the same pace that they were taking them. If they haven't, then you don't have the same rules. You don't have to keep up with some pace that was started by the previous generation or the decedent. You don't have to keep up with that.
Right.
So that's a great thing there. But obviously we don't want to lose our loved ones, but if we're inheriting those funds, we do need to pay attention to a lot of these rules.
Yeah. Oh, I would say so. So what else do you want to touch on here before we go?
Well, just a couple more things that the Secure Act brought about, Tony. Not only did it bring in the 10-year rule, but also it did start changing that required minimum distribution age.
Right.
Used to be, it was your favorite age ever, Tony, 70 and a half.
The half year. Love that.
Right. They moved it to 72. Now it's 73. And then by 2033, we're going to go to 75. So that keeps getting pushed forward a little bit because, people are living longer. And so IRS is kind of giving us a little bit longer before we have to start taking those out. Not that you can't access those funds. It's just you're not required to take funds out of your IRAs until 73 or 75 if you turn after 2033. So that's good information to know, because I still all the time have people come in say, now I turned 70 this year. Do I have to start taking stuff this year?
Yep.
Nope. You actually have 3 more years. You're good. Yeah. So
of course they might want to have started taking some out before they hit RMD age, so they don't have such big tax liabilities then later. Yeah.
Yep. And it's great when you can structure it as a strategy like that, but it never feels good when the government's telling you have to take the funds out. I mean, so I can understand why people don't care for the required minimums. I had somebody telling me a couple weeks ago that it's a penalty. I'm like, well, it's not necessarily a penalty. It's having you access your own funds. And then because you've never paid taxes on them, you have to pay taxes on whatever you take out. But I mean, I guess you can view it that way, but I take a more positive approach.
Sure, they gave you a tax break up front. So,
Right.
you know, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
they let you take money that was money you didn't have to report as income when you put it in your retirement
Sure.
account. So,
Sure. Yeah. I had a client one time ask me and said, "Do I really have to?" I'm like, "Well, you can leave it and not take it, and the government will take extra for having left it there." And they went, "Oh, well, no, I'm not doing that."
yeah. Yeah,
But
you want to pay what is it? 25%.
It's now 25%. Now that's actually
25% penalty, and that's 25% of the amount. And then you have to pay taxes on it on top of that.
right.
that's correct. Yep. So you still
Yikes.
have to take it, even if you decide you don't want to. You're still going to have to take it, and you're going to have
Yeah.
a penalty.
Right.
Yeah, the
And
IRS doesn't use the, well, I don't want to. That's
Yeah.
not good. That's
Doesn't
not
work.
a
No.
reason. Yeah.
no,
That's
and
good.
that's actually one of the changes that happened in the Secure Act as well. It used to be a 50% excise tax was on
Yes.
that if for a missed RMD.
Used to
Now
be
it's
way worse.
25%.
Yeah. Way
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, way worse. Well, and work with if you're in that situation, work with a financial professional who might be able to, you know, minimize the burden and the penalties.
Right.
It's better to have a plan going in and work with professionals to make sure you never get in that situation in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, that's the big thing right there is because, you know, we sit down every year and we go through, we attend trainings on the new rules and what's changed. So sitting down with a financial professional who has spent the time to go through the rules and get the extra training so that they can properly advise someone of how to navigate these new acts and the rule changes is so important. So we want to pay attention to not just the taxes, but also what are your individual goals, your
Right.
individual objectives for these funds that you may be inheriting. Maybe, you know, your whoever you inherited them from, you know, they had a particular investment style or a particular set of goals that they used for to guide their investments. But as you're receiving those funds, you may need to change those investments to match your goals and your objectives for the stage of life that you're in. So, sitting down with a financial professional to make sure you're invested properly for where you are. And I've seen this a lot where someone says, "Oh, I just want to leave it where my aunt, you know, so and so had it because this was her favorite company and all this." I'm like, well, maybe not. Maybe we need to invest in a way that's best for you and not that was the way that was best for your aunt.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Well, you covered a lot of ground today. We're out of time. Before we go, let our listeners and viewers out there know how they can set up that no-charge consultation to get their questions answered.
Absolutely, Tony. Well, listeners, just give us a call. Our number is 417-641-3497 and visit our website at LaTourAsset.com.
All right, and that does it for this episode of LaTour Retirement Talk with our hosts, Jim Margraf and Josh LaTour.